The smoke of distant fires still drifted in the air as Commander Jace Thorn walked through the ruins of the palace gates. His armor was scratched, his face covered in dust, but his eyes were sharp, watching everything. The war had ended only 2 days ago, a brutal conflict between Earth and the Sarati Empire, a powerful alien race ruled by queens and princesses, who once saw humans as pests beneath their notice. But something strange happened during the last phase of the war. A ceasefire was suddenly called. Not because Earth had overpowered the Sarati, but because one of their royal daughters had demanded it. She wanted to meet a human, not any soldier. She wanted to meet Jace Thorn. He didn't know why. Maybe she was curious. Maybe it was a trap. But orders were orders. The Sarati palace was still standing, glowing softly under the twin moons of the alien sky. Its walls shimmered with pink and gold light. Inside, tall guards with armor made of crystal stepped aside as Jace entered. He had never seen such beauty. Everything felt like a dream built from stars and silence. In the royal hall, a girl stood waiting. She was tall, glowing with grace, her golden hair like liquid silk. A crown of alien pearls shimmered above her head, and her eyes, deep, strange, powerful, looked straight into his. She didn't smile. She didn't bow. She just said his name, Commander Jace Thorn. He bowed slightly. "Your Highness." "I am Princess Solari of House Virex," she said softly. "I called for you. You impressed me." Jace didn't know how to reply. Impressing a royal Sarati was not a common thing for a human. "You stopped your soldiers when you saw our younglings retreating," she continued. "You refused to fire." "That was not weakness, that was strength," Jace shrugged. "I didn't come here to kill children." "Exactly," she said, her voice almost whispering. "That is why I have chosen you." "Chosen me for what?" Jace asked, suddenly alert. Solari took a deep breath and walked toward him slowly. "My people are broken. The war is over, but the royal line must continue. The council has agreed. I am allowed to take a mate, and I've chosen you." Jace's heart skipped a beat. He had faced death 100 times, but nothing prepared him for this. "You want to marry me?" he asked. She nodded. "You will live in our empire beside me. Your children will have royal blood. It is the only way peace will truly last." Jace looked around. The guards were watching, still and silent. He felt like a deer standing in front of a storm. He hadn't expected this. Not from an alien princess. Not after a war that took thousands of lives. "I need time," he said carefully. "You will have time," Solari replied, her voice calm. "But there is something you must know." She stepped aside, and another girl entered the hall. This one was younger, maybe by a few years. Her hair was darker, her eyes wilder. She wore a dress similar to Solari's, but with silver markings on her chest and arms. She looked at Jace like he was prey and treasure at the same time. "This is my sister, Princess Veluna," Solari said. "She has made her own request." Veluna stepped forward. "If you are to marry my sister, then you must marry me as well." Jace blinked. "What?" "It is our law," she said with pride. "When royal blood is shared, the bond must extend to the next of kin. My sister is first princess, I am second. If you marry one, the other cannot remain unmated." "That's insane," Jace muttered. "To you, maybe," Solari said gently. "But not to us." Jace turned away, walking slowly to the window. The stars were bright. The war was over. But this wasn't peace. This was the beginning of something else, something stranger, something deeper. "Do I get a choice?" he asked quietly. "You do," Solari said. "But understand this, if you refuse, the council may not accept the peace. And your people? They will follow the law. And the law demands that both of us be taken, or neither." Jace stood still for a long moment. Behind him, the two sisters waited. Not as enemies, not as conquerors, but as something far more dangerous, powerful, beautiful, and bound by tradition. And suddenly, Jace realized the war wasn't truly over. It had just changed form. Jace didn't sleep that night. The room they gave him was large and beautiful, filled with smooth crystal walls, soft golden lights, and a bed that felt like clouds. But his thoughts refused to rest. 2 alien princesses wanted him. Not for romance, not for love, but for power, peace, and law. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the door. What if he said no? Would they restart the war? Would Earth lose everything it gained by stopping the bloodshed? A knock broke his thoughts. He stood up quickly. The door opened without a sound, and Princess Veluna walked in. She wore a long silver robe that shimmered with tiny stars. Her dark hair fell loose over her shoulders. She looked at him with sharp, curious eyes. "You haven't made your choice yet," she said, stepping closer. "I didn't know I had to choose between peace and insanity," Jace replied. Veluna tilted her head. "You think we're mad?" "I think your traditions are intense," she laughed softly. "That's fair." There was a pause. She studied him, then sat down beside him without asking. "My sister is calm, kind, perfect," Veluna said. "She is born to be queen. But I am born to fight. I challenged her claim to the throne once, long ago. I lost." Jace raised an eyebrow. "So you hate her?" "No," she said, shaking her head. "I envy her, and I love her." "Which is worse?" Jace didn't know how to answer that. "You must understand," she continued, "our world doesn't allow broken bloodlines. If she takes a mate and I don't, it weakens her rule. The council fears division, so they demand unity. They want both of us tied to one man. Me. Yes, you." Jace looked away. "And what do you want?" Veluna stood, her voice low and steady. "I want freedom. I want power. And I want you. Because my sister chose you first." She left before he could speak again. The next morning, Jace was summoned to the Grand Council Hall. Inside were 11 Serati elders, each wearing robes made of light thread. Solari stood at the center, and beside her, Veluna. The tension in the air was sharp. "You have been given time to think," one of the elders said. "Now speak." Jace stepped forward. Every eye was on him. "I didn't come here to become a royal husband," he said. "I came to stop a war." "Then finish the task," said another elder. "Peace requires a bond." Solari's voice was calm. "We are not forcing you, but this union is our law." Jace looked at her. Her face was soft, unreadable. Then he looked at Veluna. She stood like a flame wrapped in silk, dangerous and beautiful. He closed his eyes and took a breath. Then, "I need time to understand who you are, both of you." Murmurs echoed through the hall. "You ask for delay?" One elder questioned. "I ask for something real," Jace replied. "If I'm to share my life with 2 princesses from another world, I need to know them beyond their crowns." Silence followed. Finally, Solari stepped forward. "Then you will spend 7 days with us, 1 day with me, 1 with Veluna. We will rotate. After 7 days you must choose." "And if I choose only one?" The room went still again. Veluna smiled. "Then the peace ends." Jace felt like the walls were closing in. But he nodded. "So be it." The council agreed. That evening, Solari met him in the palace gardens. The sky glowed purple, and strange birds sang songs like soft wind chimes. She walked beside him in silence for a while. "You handled the council well," she finally said. "I didn't have a choice," Jace replied. She looked at him with eyes that seemed to see everything. "You always have a choice. That's what makes you different from us." He stopped walking and turned to her. "Do you actually want me, or just what I represent?" She didn't answer right away. Then she touched a glowing flower and said, "I want both. You're strong, clever, and you carry the scent of victory. My people will follow me more easily if I stand beside someone they fear and someone they secretly admire. He narrowed his eyes. And love? She gave him a strange look. That's a word you humans use so freely. We don't throw it like sand in the air. Love comes later, after loyalty, after trust. They stood in silence. And for the first time, Jace realized this was more than tradition. This was a game of thrones, of power and pressure. And he was the center of it. Tomorrow, he would spend time with Valuna. He wasn't sure if she wanted peace, power, or something far more dangerous. But one thing was certain: peace had a price, and he was the currency. The second day began with a storm rolling over the sky. Alien clouds glowed with violet lightning, streaking across the heavens like the anger of ancient gods. Jace stood near the edge of the royal cliff garden, looking over the city of Sarathia. His mind was filled with questions, and one named Vae Luna. She appeared without warning, stepping barefoot on the polished stone. Her silver robes fluttered in the wind, and her dark hair blew wild behind her. She looked like a storm wrapped in human skin. "You don't look happy to see me," she said with a sly smile. "I'm still trying to decide if you're dangerous." Jace replied. "Good," she said, walking past him. "You should never be comfortable around me." She led him down into the lower city, far from the golden towers of the palace. The streets here were quieter, filled with alien children chasing glowing bubbles, vendors selling crystal fruits, and old soldiers sharpening curved blades. Jace noticed the way the citizens bowed when Valuna passed, not with love, but with fear. "You rule down here?" he asked. "I protect them," she replied. "My sister gives speeches. I give orders." They entered a small training arena, behind a black stone temple. Warriors in silver armor stopped their drills as Valuna approached. She tossed Jace a wooden spear. "Let's see if Earth's hero can fight without his fancy armor," she challenged. Jace sighed. "You want to spar? I want to see if you're worth bleeding for." The duel began fast. Valuna moved like a dancer spinning, striking, feinting with the grace of someone born to command both fear and respect. Jace held his ground, parrying, blocking, countering. His muscles burned, but he didn't back down. After 15 minutes, both were breathless. Sweat dripped from their faces. Valuna finally stepped back, lowering her spear. "You didn't try to win," she said, panting. "I wasn't here to beat you," Jace answered. "I was here to learn who you are." She gave him a long look, her eyes narrowing slightly. "And what did you learn? That you hide pain behind pride. You want power because you've never felt chosen." For a moment, the warrior vanished, and a quiet girl stood there. Then her pride returned like armor. "I don't need to be chosen," she said. "I take what I want." They sat under a metal tree afterward, drinking cold fruit water. Jace looked. At her, really looked. Valuna wasn't just sharp and strong, she was scared. Of being second. Of being forgotten. "You don't really want me," Jace said quietly. "You want to win against your sister." Valuna didn't deny it. "I thought so," he continued. "But I'm not a trophy. And I won't be used." Her voice dropped. "Then what do you want, Jace Thorn?" He looked at the city. "I want peace. But I won't give my heart to someone who sees me as a symbol." Valuna stood up slowly. "Then make me see you as more." She left him alone in the shade, her steps slow, her eyes unreadable. That night, the palace was silent. Even the guards seemed distant. Jace wandered the halls, trying to clear his head. Every corner held memories of both sisters, one kind and royal, one wild and fierce. He passed by a room with a half-open door and heard soft music. Inside, Princess Solari sat at a glowing piano, playing a tune that seemed made of moonlight. Her fingers moved gently over the keys, and her eyes were closed. "You're not supposed to be here," she said without looking. "I needed a moment to breathe." She stopped playing. Did my sister confuse you? Jace nodded. She's not what I expected. Solari smiled softly. The Luna is fire. She burns everything she touches. But sometimes fire is needed to light the dark. He watched her carefully. Do you want me to choose her too? I want peace, Solari replied. But I also want honesty. If you only want me, say it. If you want her too, be brave enough to admit it. And if I want neither, then you're free to walk away, she said quietly. But this world will not forget that you had a chance to end centuries of war. And refused. Jace felt the weight of it again. Not just two sisters. Not just one choice. It was an entire galaxy's future resting on his shoulders. As the twin moons rose above the palace, Jace knew something deeper than politics was pulling him now. The sisters weren't just rivals. They were both pieces of a broken empire, and somehow he had become the glue holding everything together. Tomorrow, it would be Solari's day again, but tonight, sleep would not come easy. Jace woke to golden light pouring through a glass ceiling. The palace had shifted again, new quarters for a new day. This time, everything was softer. The bed sheets were white silk, the furniture carved from glowing crystal, and the scent of alien flowers filled the air. It was serene. Too serene. As he dressed, a voice echoed through a small device on the wall. It was Princess Solari. Come to the royal archives. I have something to show you. He followed a guide through a series of quiet, curved corridors until they reached a domed chamber filled with floating scrolls and shimmering holograms. The room pulsed with ancient knowledge. Solari was waiting near the center, dressed in a flowing gown that shimmered like liquid pearl. Her crown was gone. She looked less like a ruler and more like a woman carrying heavy burdens. Do you know why our people started this war? She asked. I was told it was over territory, Jace replied. That's what they say in public. She said, waving her hand. A giant image appeared mid-air. Alien planets burning, human ships crashing, children hiding in bunkers. But it began long before that. Our royal bloodline was splitting. Factions rose, civil unrest. The council feared collapse. They wanted a strong symbol, a new union. You mean, with Earth? She nodded. At first, you were the enemy. Then, you became an opportunity. When your people survived our early assaults, the council believed you were worthy. Jace folded his arms. Worthy of what? Becoming a royal pet? No, Solari said calmly. Worthy of becoming a bridge. She stepped closer. Her eyes filled with something between sorrow and hope. I didn't just choose you because you saved our younglings, she said. I chose you because I saw you hesitate to kill, even when you had the advantage. Compassion isn't weakness. That's exactly why I need you. She gestured toward a floating scroll, and it opened, revealing an ancient Serati law text glowing in their native script. This says that when two royal bloodlines fight for succession, they must share one mate. The mate becomes a living bond between the lines. Jace's throat tightened. So this really isn't about love. Solari looked away. For you, maybe not yet, but for me. She reached into her robe and pulled out a simple crystal ring. It glowed faintly. I had this made the day you spared our soldiers. I knew then you were different. I didn't know how or why. I only knew I had to bring you to us. Jace stared at the ring. It wasn't just tradition now. She had planned this. You were prepared for this even before I agreed. I was prepared to offer you peace, a throne, and a home, she said softly. Not because I wanted to control you, but because I hoped you would choose us. There was silence between them. Jace looked up at her. And what does your sister think of all this? She thinks I'm too soft, Solari replied. That I want peace too badly. She thinks love makes rulers weak. Maybe she's scared of being left behind. Solari didn't answer. Instead, she touched a glowing orb at the center of the archive. and the room transformed. A vision appeared. Two young girls running through the palace gardens. One golden-haired, one dark-eyed. Sisters. She was always faster, Solari whispered. Always louder. And I always followed the rules. Until now. Jace watched the memory fade. The princess before him was more than a political figure. She was a sister who had chosen peace at the risk of being seen as weak. A royal who believed in unity more than conquest. You're asking me to marry two people, Jace said. But I only know fragments of who either of you really are. Then, let the next days show you more, Solari replied. Not just our strengths, but our fears. You deserve the full truth before you choose, Jace nodded. Then show me everything. That evening, Veluna didn't show up for the royal dinner. Her seat remained empty, her name unspoken. Jace asked no questions. But Solari seemed more distant, her smile thinner. Later, as he walked the garden corridors alone, Jace spotted a flicker of movement near the outer walls. Vae Luna. She stood on a narrow ledge, staring up at the stars. He didn't call out. He just watched. And in that moment, between silence and starlight, he realized something that made everything more complicated. Neither sister was truly whole without the other. And somehow, they had both tied their future to him. He wasn't sure if he was the answer to their problems, or just another piece of their war. Jace stood under the soft violet sky, the alien moon glowing above the quiet palace. The air was cool and smelled faintly of burned stone and blooming vines. Tonight was Veluna's turn again, but she hadn't spoken to him since the sparring match. Not a word. Not even a glance during the council dinner. She had vanished behind her silence. Until now. A guard appeared at his door, nodding respectfully. Princess Veluna has summoned you to the Forge of Fire. Jace blinked. I thought that place was off limits to outsiders. It was, the guard replied. But she says you are no longer an outsider. He followed the narrow stairs, down into the ancient tunnels below the palace, where warm air rose from deep underground. Eventually, they reached a massive chamber carved from black volcanic stone. The walls were covered in old battle relics, broken blades, scorched banners, and cracked masks of long-dead kings. Veluna stood at the center, dressed in black armor, not ceremonial. Real armor, scarred, used. Her eyes glowed slightly in the flickering firelight. You brought me to a war museum? Jace asked. I brought you to the truth, she said. He walked slowly around her, eyeing the ancient relics. What truth? That love without power is nothing. That peace without strength is a lie. My sister wants to win you with sweet words and calm gardens. I want to show you how hard I had to fight just to stand next to her. Jace met her eyes. You think this is a competition? Everything is. She stepped toward a wide stone table and placed two items on it. One was a small dagger. The other, a metal pendant shaped like a spiral star. Our people believe that a bonded mate must carry two marks, she said, one of blood and one of soul. The dagger is mine. The pendant is hers. Jace frowned. You want me to accept both? I want you to understand what it means if you do. You won't just be choosing two women. You'll be taking on a divided empire, a 1,000-year tradition, and a future no one's prepared for. She paused, then added, and you'll be hated by those who think humans are still animals, even by some in your own army. Jace looked at the pendant and dagger. Why me, Veluna? Why not one of your own? Her voice dropped. Because you didn't flinch when I tried to break you. Because even when I challenged you, you never looked at me like I was a monster. You looked at me like I mattered. You do, Jace said quietly. She turned to face him, her eyes softer now. I hate that my sister chose you first, she said. But I don't want to lose you. Not now, not when I finally feel seen. Jace stepped closer. And what happens? If I choose only one of you, then the other will step down, the Luna whispered. But the pain, it will stay. There was a long silence between them. Then, slowly, she removed her armor and revealed a mark across her collarbone, a faded scar, shaped like the symbol of her house. I was whipped for speaking against the council, she said. I was 14. They wanted me to remember that I was second. Always second. Jace looked at her, not with pity, but with quiet respect. She reached for his hand. Don't choose me out of guilt or fear. But if you do, I'll never betray your trust. Jace nodded. And if I choose both? Then you'll have 2 queens to deal with. They both smiled, but the air remained heavy. Later that night, Silari arrived unannounced at Jace's chambers. She wore a simple white cloak and carried a folded piece of ancient silk. Wordlessly she placed it on the table. It was a wedding robe, half gold, half silver. You spent the evening with her? She asked softly. Yes. And she told me her truth. It wasn't easy to hear. Silari sat down. It never is. She hides her wounds like weapons. Jace walked to the window. I'm not used to this kind of decision. On Earth, we choose one person, one bond, one path. Then maybe your world is simpler, she said. But here, unity is survival. He turned. What happens if I choose? Neither of you? She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, then everything we built together will burn. Outside, the stars were quiet. Inside, Jace's heart wasn't, because for the first time, he didn't know if peace was even possible, not when love was so tangled with legacy. Asterisk, the 6th that began in silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the tense, suffocating quiet that hung in the air before something important broke loose. Jace dressed without speaking. No summons had come. No princess had appeared. No guards, no messages. Just silence. He stepped into the hallway, expecting anyone. But the palace halls were empty, until a voice echoed behind him. You have to come with me. Now. It was Captain Iser, one of Silari's most trusted warriors. His face was pale, and his crystal blade was drawn. What happened? Jace asked. Princess. Luna left the palace. She went into the wastes alone. Jace's heart dropped. Why? She didn't say. Only that she refused to watch her sister win. She left her seal behind. That seal meant only one thing. She had renounced her claim to the throne and to Jace. Jace didn't hesitate. Take me to her. The wastes were a dead land beyond the city, once a battlefield, now cursed ground. Old ships lay rusting beneath. Red sand and the bones of fallen war beasts still jutted from the earth like jagged statues. The wind howled constantly, carrying the whispers of past battles. They rode hoverbikes for 2 hours before spotting a figure in the distance. Luna stood alone on a crumbling ledge, her long cloak whipping in the wind. Her hair was wild, her hands bare, and her eyes distant as she stared at the old war monuments. Jace ran to her, calling her name. She didn't turn. I thought you'd stay with her, she said, her voice hollow. You didn't even give me the chance, he replied. She slowly looked at him. I saw the way you looked at her. Like she was peace, and I was just war. I looked at her with respect. I look at you with fire. Luna laughed bitterly. Then burn with me. Jace stepped forward. Why are you doing this? Why throw away everything? Because I'm tired of being the second choice, she whispered. Even in love, even in peace, I'm always the backup. You're not, Jace said. You're bold, brave, dangerous, and real. You don't follow the rules. You break them for those you care about. I see that now. Luna's eyes filled with tears. She quickly wiped away. You can't say this unless you mean it. I do, he said. You said you only knew fragments. Of us, she whispered. Have you found the full picture yet? I'm starting to, he replied. But not because of thrones or councils, because of the people beneath the crowns. Valuna turned and walked toward a broken Sarati statue. It was of the last warrior queen, sharp eyes, twin blades, no smile. She died alone, Valuna said. They said she chose duty over love. Jay stepped beside her. I don't think you have to choose one or the other. Valuna looked at him. If I return, I will stand beside her as her equal. Not her shadow. You deserve that. Suddenly, their devices crackled. Emergency. Princess Solari under threat. Council chamber under siege by dissenters. Repeat internal. Attack. Palace in chaos. Jace's chest tightened. What? Valuna's eyes narrowed. The council feared your decision. They acted. They jumped back on the bikes. Jace gripped tightly as Valuna sped through the desert. Sand whipped against them, but neither slowed down. The palace glowed in the distance, once a symbol of power, now a battleground of fear. Inside, guards were already fighting rogue elites, council loyalists who refused to accept a human's place beside royal blood. Solari stood at the center, her dress torn, blood on her sleeve, but her hands still glowing with royal command. Jace leapt into the chaos, pulling Solari behind a column. You came, she gasped. I told you, he said, shielding her. Don't run. Valuna joined them seconds later, slicing down a soldier who charged from behind. The sisters locked eyes, fire and light, thunder and calm, and something passed between them, not hatred. Not jealousy, a silent decision. We finish this together, Solari said, and they did. Together, the three of them fought, defended, and finally pushed back the attack. When the dust settled and the council traitors were bound, the surviving elders watched in silence. Princess Solari stood with her head held high. The law stands, one bond, one union. But the man has the right to choose. Jace turned toward both sisters, and for the first time, he knew exactly what he wanted. He stepped forward. Tomorrow he would announce it, but tonight the stars seemed closer, because finally, love and power had stopped pulling him apart and started pulling him toward destiny. The seventh day arrived quietly. The fires had been put out, the broken banners replaced. The palace stood tall again, though the scars of battle remained in the halls and in the hearts of those who fought within it. The twin suns rose slowly above the horizon, casting gold and silver light across the Sarati sky. Today, everything would change. Jace stood before a long polished mirror, dressed in ceremonial robes, stitched with earth colors and Sarati symbols woven together for the first time in history. On his chest, two crests rested side by side, one of Solari's House of Light, and one of Valuna's House of Flame. He heard the door open behind him. Solari entered first, glowing with quiet strength. Her gown shimmered like moonlight wrapped in silk, her golden hair braided with tiny crystals. The people are waiting, she said gently. Then Valuna stepped in, wrapped in dark silver robes lined with red. Her dark hair was pulled back into a royal knot, but her sharp eyes still held fire. I still think you're crazy, she muttered. I probably am, Jace said with a grin. The three of them walked side by side toward the high balcony, where the crowd below stretched for miles. Sarati citizens, Earth delegates, war survivors, royal guards, and children all gathered to witness something that had never happened before. A human choosing not one alien princess, but two. The Grand Council waited at the edge of the balcony, silent. No one knew what Jace would say. He stepped forward alone. I was a soldier, Jace began, his voice calm but clear. I came to this planet expecting war, and I found it. But I also found something else. He turned slightly, glancing at the sisters behind him. I found two women, two leaders who didn't want to win by force, but by faith. Not just in their people, but in something impossible, in someone like me. Whispers moved through the crowd like wind. I didn't come here to fall in love. I didn't come here to wear a crown. But in fighting beside these two, I've come to understand something Earth never taught me. Sometimes peace can only be built by those willing to break every rule to make it real. He took a deep breath. Princess Solari of House Virex, I choose you. Solari stepped forward, her expression calm, but tears gathered in her eyes. And Princess Veluna of House Ember, I choose you too. Gasps echoed from the crowd. A few council members looked stunned. Others bowed their heads slowly. I will not pretend to understand every custom, every law of your people, Jace continued. But I know what it means to stand by someone when it matters most. You both stood by me, and now I will stand by you. Solari reached out first, placing her hand on Jace's. Then Veluna followed, her hand resting over both. The royal priestess stepped forward and tied a braided band of white and red thread around their joined hands. The ancient rite of unity once used to seal two hearts, now used for three. The sky erupted in cheers. Below, the people of Saravia didn't see chaos. They saw a future, a human and two princesses bonded not by conquest, but by choice. Later that night, after the celebrations, Jace sat alone on a quiet balcony. The stars above were brighter than he remembered. The palace glowed with soft lantern light. He was no longer a commander. No longer just a visitor. He was part of something greater. FAAOR. I appeared first, leaning against the rail. You surprised everyone. I surprised myself, Jace replied. She smiled. You speak like a king. Don't get used to it. A moment later, Veluna joined them, sipping from a crystal cup. So, we're stuck with each other. Looks like it, Jace said, smirking. Good, she muttered. Now let's change the world, Solari nodded. Together. And for the first time since arriving on this strange planet, Jace felt something deeper than duty. Something beyond war, beyond survival. He felt home. Not because of the palace, not because of the crown, but because two alien sisters, once divided by pride and pain, had opened their hearts and let a human inside. And that was how the war ended, not with fire but with a vow.